Hi, I'm Rhonda. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a life coach. And I want to talk to you today about codependency. Codependency is thrown around a lot these days, people talking about codependency. And really, just here recently has this word been put in the dictionary. For many years, it was a term that came from treatment centers back in the 70s that the alcoholics would come in and their family members, and they would pick up on the family members having all these traits, and so they called them co-alcoholics at first, but that didn't really fit. So it was like the alcoholic was dependent on the alcohol and the family member was dependent on the alcoholic. So they coined the term codependent, in that there's certain traits that follow that. There's no diagnoses for codependency. There is a personality trait disorder that's called dependent personality disorder, and that hits it pretty close. There's so many different ways to describe codependency. Codependency is a lot that the person wants to take care of others. They have the need to be needed, so they are drawn to people that need to be saved or fixed. I like to call it fixing. And since in relationships, water seeks its own level, so this type of dysfunction will attract another type of dysfunction. And so many times codependents are bad enablers, and they will be responsible for what someone else needs to be responsible for. And they get tired of doing that. And after a while, they get resentful, and they're people pleasers. They have no sense of self. Whatever you like is what they like. And they also avoid conflict. They seek approval. And I kind of think of them as a bottomless pit. There's just never enough. Never enough love, never enough attention, never enough, because they are not enough. They're not okay unless everyone around them is okay. And I've also heard that, it could be described as, if you lead me, can I go with you? That sort of thing. It's really hard to pinpoint, but as a clinician, it's easy to spot. It's when people are focused on other people more than themselves, to the even to the cost of not doing what they like or what they want, because they don't know what they like or want. They're over responsible. They have a lack of confidence in themselves because there is no sense of self, no boundaries. They don't like boundaries either, and that's that. There's two sides to everything. There's setting boundaries and there's accepting boundaries, and these people don't like either. So the reason that I can talk on this is I have recovered from codependency. I still deal with some of those traits. I wanted to fix people. I like to control things so that I would be okay. I was not okay unless I felt like I was in control. Had a very low self-esteem, and I got my self-esteem from others. And I tended to be attracted to people who were takers because I was a giver. And somebody that takes needs that person to do for them what they don't want to do, and to feel their love. And because I did this, when I needed help or something came up and I asked those people, then nobody was ever there for me, and I was always there for them. And over years, I was angry and resentful, and I knew there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know what it was. And I tend to be attracted to relationships that are unhealthy, people that can't take care of themselves. And I was, married to an alcoholic, and didn't really. He was very functional and very held a job, and he didn't drink every day. I thought alcoholism was somebody drink every day, and they couldn't hold a job, but that's not necessarily true. And my codependency caused a lot of problems because I was focused more on what he was doing or not doing, and how that affected and what that looked like to the community. As long as everything looked good, then I was okay. And I had to have the right house, and drive the right car, and wear the right clothes, and everything just had to be perfect. And in this world, nothing is perfect. So it didn't mean that I was a bad person, or that I was broken, or any of those things. I just had a lot of unhealthy, irrational beliefs that drove my behavior, and my thinking caused my feeling and my behaviors to be skewed because they were all unhealthy. People ask me, so how do you recover from codependency? Well, there's a lot of self-help groups, and I don't really like the term self-help because you're not really by yourself helping yourself, because you can't fix yourself with unhealthy thoughts. And so you have to reach out for help, either through counseling or coaching or Al-Anon, a 12-step program. There's a lot of different ways to address this. But you first have to be aware of what it is or how it affects you. And there's a lot of blame that blaming others, because I didn't know how to take responsibility for myself. I had no idea what I liked or what I didn't like, what I wanted, what I didn't want, what were my dreams and my aspirations. I really relate to using movies for awareness. I worked in a treatment center for years, and we did movie therapy on Friday afternoons. And the best movie I know to really pinpoint codependency is Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts. And in this movie, her dad's an alcoholic, and she gets in these relationships, and whatever he likes is what she ends up liking. She probably whatever eggs they ate in the morning is what she ate. She had no idea how she liked her own eggs, so she ate her eggs cooked the way he liked them, and she did activities of what he liked. Or it's this very lack of sense of self, and there has to be some self-actualization. I tried to fix myself with outside stuff. If I was pretty enough, skinny enough, good enough, then they would like me, or he would stay. Fear of abandonment's a big one for codependents, and they will stay long after they should have in relationships because they don't want to be alone. I had to learn how to take care of myself emotionally. I was a very responsible person, but I looked to that other person to change the way I felt. That if they acted the way I wanted them to, then it meant I was worth something. My self-worth comes today from the fact that I'm a child of God, and I am important just because I am Rhonda. And my job today is to be the best Rhonda I can be. And I love myself more than whoever I'm in a romantic relationship with. I love them. I want to be in this relationship, but I love myself more. I set boundaries. And a boundary is me saying what I'm going to do. You can do whatever you want to do, but if this continues, this is what I am going to do or not do. And that's, that defines who I am. It it helps me know what's important and what's not important. Codependency can be very damaging in relationships and in lives. The behavior that comes from that, it's environmentally induced. There's not medication that somebody can give you that's going to fix codependency. It takes a lot of inward seeking, self-searching to figure out what it is that drives the stuff, the behavior. What are the irrational beliefs? Irrational beliefs that I wasn't enough, that I couldn't do anything right, that if I must be worth something if they need me. That type of thinking kept me stuck in unhealthy behaviors, and it was that way with my friends and coworkers, people at church, the whole thing. And I thought if I could just be good enough, then I'll be okay. And none of that really works. I had to go inside and work on those irrational beliefs that drove that behavior. Awareness is the first step to that. I had to be aware of what were those beliefs. And then from there, I had to accept that I had them. And then you have to take action to change it. And the action is doing those small steps when conflict arose, to speak up and to say how I felt, to ask for what I needed, to ask for help, to stop fixing other people. And that fixing is kind of a nice way of putting that I'm going to control you and tell you what to do. And if you would just do what I would do, or do what I say. And that's, did they ask me for advice? Unsolicited advice is an act of hostility. And I don't want to be a hostile person. I want to live in emotional integrity. That if I have feelings or thoughts, I need to talk about them with somebody else. I begin to ask myself, what would an adult do in this situation? And I didn't have a clue. I would ask my counselor. I went to counseling. I went to 12-step programs. And 28 years of working on myself, of focusing on myself. I decided that I wanted to go to college. And I was 42 years old. And so I went to college. And my counselor had asked me, did you ever think about doing counseling? And no, I hadn't, because I could not see the attributes that he was telling me that I had. All I could see was the negative in myself. And so I have completely changed my life. Today I have a completely different life. I react to things different. By not reacting is really the thing. I try to respond. So I know a lot about codependency and addiction, and that's my main purpose and my passion for doing this. I like to work with people that struggle with addictions, and codependency is an addiction all its own. I was addicted to other people. Also had some other addiction. Anything that would change the way I feel. Shopping, eating, I would just focus on things outside of myself, so I didn't have to focus on the way I felt. I compared myself to other people's outsides, and I always came up lacking. I was envious of others because their life looked better than mine. And come to find out, I had people that was envious of my life because I made sure everything looked good on the outside. And today I know that I can be okay just because of who I am. And that's a big deal. Do other people's behaviors affect me? Oh, yes. They do. But I can still do what I need to do It doesn't just completely interrupt my life if someone's mad at me. I thought everybody should like me, and that's where the people pleasing came in. So, you know, and the caretaking. When you overly care for someone else, you are taking from them, because that responsible for what they should be responsible for. When I do that for someone, when I am responsible for something someone else should be responsible for, I make their failure permanent, because it's in the mistakes and owning up to that behavior and having the consequences that make people change, that make them want to be better people. And if I step in every time, despite the consequences that I suffer consequences for other people's behavior. And I'm grateful today that I was provided the opportunity and the insight, and I was willing to make the changes. If you like what I share, if you would please subscribe to my YouTube channel, leave me a message in the comments, and the main thing I want to leave you with is to be yourself.